And obviously this is another video, and I'm gonna try to make this a short video, because I don't know what y'all are thinking. Nobody's ever really saying too much uh, about my videos, but I don't wanna make it too long. Um, I don't know if I'm boring you or whatever. Sometimes I can get rather long-winded, but this video is pretty much just talking about my experience of going to the doctor. Well, it's actually a specialist. I went to go see audiology today because I've been concerned about my hearing. Where the concern is that for two things, and I explained this to the audiologist, that there's two reasons why I wanted to check on my hearing. One is because I'm noticing a lot of pressure changes in my ears, where it's difficult for me to to adjust the pressure imbalance in my ears lately. And I've noticed, well, this has been going on for many years. I realized it about 20 something years ago. When just small changes in elevation, to where I noticed that I would have to pop my ears. And I don't recall having to do that before, prior to about 20, let's say about 20, 22 years ago. I don't recall having to do that that often, or even with just a few hundred feet of distance, elevation. I don't recall ever having to make any adjustments. But I'm noticing that I'm having to do that more nowadays. Especially, well, I've noticed that a lot, here lately. But with the just changing of a few hundred feet, 200 feet or so, 300 feet, yeah, it has been concerning me, because I'm like, man, I don't know if there's something going on that I should be concerned about, because at times it feels uncomfortable. Yeah, everybody's had that issue where where they've had the ear pressure changes in it, so you know what I'm talking about. And most of us, or most of you, can just do something simple like just simple like yawning exercises or whatever. And some people will see me, and they'll see me do things like this, and they think that I don't know, they think that I'm having some kind of spasm or something like that. But really all I'm doing is I'm just making the ears pop back here behind the jaw. So when I do this, all I'm doing is I'm just readjusting my jaws, which kind of makes sense, because the lady that was explaining to me the function, or the problems that I would be having with the pressure, is that there's like some glands in your neck area that get connected up to your ears. And she said that sometimes that pressure, the pressure changes. You have problems right there, where the pressure doesn't regulate through there. So you gotta do things like chew gum, or she told me about doing the procedure where you hold your nose, you hold your nose, and you blow to try and blow the pressure out. Well, and I'm like, I don't know, is that safe? I figured it wasn't safe, because it's like they tell you don't hold your sneezes in, which is almost essentially the same. Well, it actually is pretty much the same thing, where you're pretty much holding it and you're keeping the pressure and stuff like that, try and pop out your ears. But I guess I can understand why they say don't hold your sneezes, because I guess because the pressure that your sneezes generate will be so much more forceful than just you doing it yourself by holding your nose and just applying the pressure yourself. So I guess that's why I say don't do that. But I associated her technique with holding your sneezes, and I'm like, well, I never really did try that because I was told that you can blow out your eardrums and stuff like that, and I don't want to blow it out. She says, oh well, you'll be fine with that. You'll be fine with that. But yeah, so yeah, that was one concern because I have because of that. And the other concern was there's actually three concerns really, and the other one was because of sinus issues. I was wondering if maybe the trouble of trying to regulate the pressure in my ears was probably something that was caused from sinus problems. And she said that she wasn't sure about that. She said that was something that I would need to talk with my primary care doctor about to see what could be the problem with that, and maybe have some try to figure out what to do to regulate that, because I have had or I still do have problems with the sinuses, and I don't know if it's, well, usually when people have problems with the sinuses, it's because of allergies. And so if it is an allergy, I don't know exactly what it is that I would be allergic to. Most people would think that the pollen and stuff and the outdoor stuff would cause problems, but the thing is that I don't have problems as far as allergies are concerned. I never had any problems with the pollen and stuff like that on the outside, but I have noticed that I would have issues with more of like indoors, and so that's probably what it could be. It could be just that I have some sort of allergy to the air that's inside. So something inside, like maybe the dust that's inside, the microscopic dust on the inside, could be the problem. So with that, what she said, yeah, these kind of things can cause problems, but I would have to talk with my primary doctor about that. Yeah, but for the most part, the sinusitis problems, she says that for her testing has nothing to do with with the problems that I'm coming there for. So, but yeah, so that could be an issue there for my ears. But the other thing, what was it? I'm trying to go off of memory here. The other thing was, I just had it too. The other thing was what? I told her, I was telling her about, I was also concerned for my hearing because I noticed, well, it's become more of a bother to me now than before about getting into conversations with people, and at times not being able to understand everything that somebody has said because I may have missed one or two words. Like either I didn't audibly understand what they said, or I might have thought they have said something else. I might have thought that, excuse me, I might have thought that they've said something else when actually they said something totally different than what I heard and understood. So I told her that I was concerned about that because I'm thinking, okay, is this part of hearing loss where you start missing words or misconstruing words and not having, and because of that you're having a problem with comprehensive conversations and stuff like that. And she says well, sometimes with hearing loss, yeah, you can well, she says that, no, she says that she's heard that kind of thing before, because I told her that, people will get mad at me sometimes because I'll keep saying huh or repeat that, basically because I didn't quite get what they were saying, right? And I made the mention. I said, it's not that I didn't hear the person. It's just that sometimes I just didn't hear. I heard them, like I heard a noise, but sometimes I don't understand what they have said. And so, in order for me to understand the conversation and interact with them, it's like, well, I have to tell people, it's like, well, it's not that I didn't hear you, it's just that I didn't understand what you said. Because when you say something like, huh, can you repeat that again? A lot of people will react with speaking in a louder tone, or they'll get frustrated and they get mad and they speak in a tone that could be even worse, because they're frustrated because they have to now repeat what they just told you. And it's like, well, dude, it's not my fault. It's not, and I'll sometimes get kind of snippy at somebody because I'm like, don't yell at me. I didn't say that I couldn't hear you. I just said that I couldn't understand you. And I even did have to, reword the way that I'm trying to communicate to them as far as how I speak to them. It's like, because we're so used to being, we're so used to saying the generic thing, I didn't hear you. When in many cases it's not that you didn't hear somebody, you just didn't understand them. So I tell them, I says, look, it's not that I didn't hear you, I heard you, but I just didn't understand what you just said. So can you repeat that again? And sometimes I might have to have them, say that, repeat what they say. So, so what I would do, once I understood that that's what I was noticing that was happening with me. So what I would do is that when somebody would say something to me, and just to make sure that I, like if it was a short response or something like that, if somebody was giving me the instructions or whatever, then what I would do is that, to ensure that I heard what they said, is that they'll give me something and then I'll go ahead and repeat it to them. Okay, so you said blah, 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 blah. Now if they said yes, then I know that what I heard was what they said. If they say no, then I know that, okay, somewhere either I didn't catch the detail, or I just didn't understand what they said. So that would help me that would keep, cut down on the on frustration levels, both on their side and on my side, because I really don't like it when somebody gets snippy at me because they had to repeat what they had to tell me, and it's like, hey, you got to understand, I heard you. Don't yell at me. I don't like when you yell at me. Okay, I don't. That bothers the hell out of me. If you got to yell at me, it makes me feel like I'm a kid or something like that. I'm not a kid. I'm a grown ass man. So don't yell at me, but talk to me. You'll be able to get through to me easier if you just talk to me. But when you're yelling and screaming, I kind of close that stuff out. So, but I think that is the end result because of the other thing that I've been concerned about. It's like, well, yeah, I sometimes don't understand because I don't hear properly everything that you say. So when I ask you to repeat it, that's the thing. Okay, so so she understood that, and she told me that, yeah, I hear that, and she was like, well, let's do a couple of tests, and then I'll give you my feedback on it. So pretty much what she did was that she had she placed the earphones on my head, and she told me pretty much, okay, there was 3 tests that I had to do, and 2 of them had to deal with listening for tone, and the other one had to deal with listening to a sentence and repeating the last word of that sentence. So the first test that she had me do was a tone test, and that was to see at what levels I can hear the audible tone that she was pumping out. She told me what to listen for, as far as, like, she gave me an example. Okay, you're gonna hear this do 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 type of beeping. So I'm like, okay, now I'm trying to picture in my head what this tone is actually gonna sound like, because obviously it's not gonna sound like what I heard her say. So I'm running in my head trying to figure out what that is gonna be like. Ah, geez, hold on a second. Who the heck is calling me? Come on, show me. South Carolina. I don't know anything about no South Carolina. Anyways. Okay. So yeah. Now, where was I at? So the tone thing. So once she gave me the instructions for that, I'm trying to listen for the tones. But the problem was that once that ambient noise went away, and it was like, it was actually the full soundproof thing, right? That loud high pitched, like, long tone started coming about, and I hear that quite a bit. And so I let her know. I was like, yeah, it's kind of hard for me to hear because of that that long high pitched tone that I'm always hearing. She said, yes, that's it is tinnitus. I don't know if I said it right. Tinnitus. It's tinnitus. And so yeah, tinnitus is where you have that loud ringing in the ear, and it's usually from, well, the main cause of it is from the loud noises. The loud noises that you experience, and usually it's without ear protection. These loud noises can cause you to have tinnitus, where you have that ringing sensation. Like, let's say if you go to the club. See, I don't go to clubs, so it's like, I didn't get this problem from clubs, but I have been at clubs once or twice before in my lifetime. So, and I've experienced this after being in a club with loud music. After you get out of there, there's this loud noise, yes. And the only reason why I know about the loud noise is because of the job that I used to do when I was in the military, where I was a crew chief, and so I was around these large airplanes, these RC-135s, where they had, the engines were super loud. But even though, even with the earplugs and the earmuffs that go over the ears, the engines were still pretty loud. So I was around loud noises all the time. Every day I was exposed to loud noises. And so with the knowledge of knowing that, with loud noises usually comes the ringing in the ears and stuff like that. And so I'm figuring, okay, well, this is the kind of thing that that I have going on. But I don't notice it so much when I have ambient noise around me. Where, like, I can probably hear, like right now, I can hear it, and that's just because I'm focusing on it. But it's not that loud. Now, in like the soundproof booth, when there was no sound, then it's like somebody shooting a megaphone right in my ear. It's like it's like that, shooting a loud tone into my ear, and it's like super loud. So, but once I get into an atmosphere where there's many different sounds around, then it's pretty close to non-existent. And many times I don't hear it because I hear other stuff that's around me. So yeah. So I was sitting there with the on the first test, and I was waiting for these tones. Well, I thought I heard it, and I'm like, yes, I hear it. And she's like, I hadn't even started yet. So I'm like, okay. So I had to sit and wait a little bit, and then I heard it. I heard the tone, And I said, yes, I hear it. She says, okay, that's what you want to hear. You want to hear that. So now I understand. I know what sound I'm listening for. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening and I hear it and I hear it. So she does it the right ear. She does the left ear. She tells me that everything is good in that with that test. She said that I did really well with that test. The next test was having me to understand, having me to repeat the last word of a short sentence. So with this test, it put static in one ear, and then there was a short sentence in the next ear, where like it would say, say fence. So I had to repeat the last word of that sentence. Say fence, fence. So that was just to see if I would hear the words as they were being told to me. And so yeah, I'm going through them and I can understand them, I can hear them, and I'm like, well, but a lot of these words, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 of them, I can really distinctly understand what it is, but these words aren't really used in my conversation. So I'm like, okay. But she said I did pretty well with that. And then there was another tone test, to where what she wanted me to do is just to tell her when I heard the tone change. And so this one was one of the easier ones because I can hear the tone very well, and so therefore whenever the tone changed, I could pick up on it like that. So after she did all those tests, she told me that my hearing was fine. She said that my hearing is normal, and that there's no sign of any hearing loss. So I'm in the range of what normal humans hear. So I'm like, okay. So that's good. And one thing that I didn't ask was that I should have asked, okay, well, on the range of normality between for human hearing, where do I place that, as far as am I like really good with the hearing as far as in the normal area, or is it like on the borderline of poor? I didn't ask that, but I think I'll see about trying to find that question out, because the last time that I did have a hearing test, I think it was every year or every 2 years when I was in the military, we had to do hearing tests. And the last time that I did do the hearing test, I remember that they had told me that that my hearing was really good, to where like I can hear things. I can hear something as minute as a dog whistle. I could hear that type of tone. So I don't know if that's changed. But I think now that I think of it, I think I will see if I can find that out. See where how well I can hear. But the last time that I did have a hearing test was at that time, and I was told that I can hear, or that I have the capability of hearing tones at the frequency of a dog whistle. So I don't know, it sounded pretty good. It sounded pretty good at the time. It's like, oh man, I can hear dog whistles. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, somebody's whistling. No, I'm not going to do that. So yeah, I need to figure out. Well, it's just a curiosity thing about how well I can hear. But the other thing that is concerning is like just trying to figure out what's the problem with not being able to understand the whole conversation sometimes. So she she says that she has a slight suspicion that maybe I might be suffering from a disorder, kind of like well, she mentioned 2 things. She said that I could be suffering from a disorder, possibly, such as like ADD or APD, and I know a little bit about what each one of those are, although I never would have thought that maybe, you know, I could be associated with ADD. But she says that that yes, that I might. She says she thinks that quite possibly that I might have something, um, I might have something related to those things, maybe have something like that, and that if I wanted to find out more, that I should go and get tested specifically for those. And she said that oftentimes, people when they're older, they don't know that they may have had these disorders that start, early on in life or in childhood or whatever, and they often get misdiagnosed, or they don't get diagnosed at all for having these disorders. And so as they get older, these symptoms become more prominent as they get older, and the person is left wondering, why is this happening? So she said, as far as your issue with being able to hear okay and just having problems processing certain words at times, she said you might be struggling with with something like that. And so she advised that I should go and get tested out, for that. But that's unfortunately they don't do it at the Eugene VA. So she says the closest place would be the closest place in proximity to here was to go to Portland, and go to the VA up in Portland to get tested for those type of things. So that's my next step, is because I really do want to find out, if there's something wrong, and if there is, I want to know how to fix it. So I know a little bit about ADD and APD, but I think I'm gonna take a look at them, look into them more. I hope that I don't have them, but if it is something that I am having to deal with, and I'll just go from there, see what I can do about dealing with it. It's not anything life debilitating or anything. It's not life threatening or anything like that. But I've lived a life mostly where I never really thought that I've had any issues, especially any disorders like that, cognitive disorders or anything like that. But here lately, I am kind of curious about that, because I am I am starting to I am noticing things with my psyche that I probably didn't notice before, or was just oblivious to. So I think it is important to get your your mind checked out. Not only get your body checked out, which as of right now, I mean, my doctor says that I'm fine physically, and I feel fine. I still feel pretty pretty young. Even though I'm over 40, I still feel pretty good. I still can do a lot of things that I did when I was younger, in my 20s, and even like that. I can still do a lot of things. I never was a fast person. I never was that person that was a fast runner, a sprinter, or somebody who was like quick on the feet. I was more that person. I wouldn't say I was like super slow, but I was a steady kind of person, so I was, instead of more of like being a runner or a sprinter or something like that, I was more of an endurance power kind of person, when it came to when it comes to like mobility and running and stuff like that. I'm more of, the analogy is more of like, I'm not the sports car, I'm more like a bulldozer, so sports cars like super fast and sprinty and stuff like that, and the bulldozer is more, it's slower, but it packs a lot of power. It does, it does a lot of different things. So I kind of associate myself as like with the bulldozer versus a sports car. But as far as like my youth and stuff like that, I still feel like I'm, like in my 20s, and stuff like that, younger. I don't really suffer from a lot of aches and pains. I mean, on occasion I'll have problems with my shoulder, where I've been dealing with that, for the last 20 something years. But that's even that, it's not a big problem. It doesn't happen all the time. It does happen sometimes. And even with my lower back, I'll have some problems with the lower back, but it doesn't pop up a lot, and I don't have a really big. I don't see it as a really big problem with the lower back yet. So I don't have a lot of aches and pains. I'm pretty good. But the one thing is that the one thing that I haven't really gotten checked out was my mental health. And so I'm at that stage right now where I want to check my mental health to make sure that I am mentally healthy. And if there are some anomalies, I want to know what they are, and if there's any way to correct them, or what I can do to have the best life with them. So my hope is always to not have any kind of problems, and thus far I haven't really had any problems aside from the sinusitis. I'm really blessed that I don't have major problems. I mean, my eyes are good. Like I said, my health is good. I don't get sick, which is a good thing. I'm very grateful for that. I don't get sick. I mean, I might start to come on with something every once in a while, and it usually starts with the runny nose and stuffiness, or the sore throat. But I kind of associate that with my sinus problems. I think that's where that's coming from, the sinus issues. But beyond that, I don't get sick, and I'm glad about that, and I thank God for that. But I would say to each one of you, get your mental health checked. It's probably one of the most neglected things about a person.
A new message has arrived.
It's probably one of the most neglected things that people tend to not, people don't tend to really understand that and stuff. But yeah, so she also did go over with me that some of the things that could be causing the ear pressure. She went through a list of things that could be causing that, but there were some things that did catch my attention about medications. The first and foremost thing is that most everybody knows about the loud noise with the tinnitus, but as far as the pressure imbalance in the ears, she said that medications, many different medications can cause that problem with the pressure and differential, specifically aspirin. She said that most people wouldn't think that aspirin would do such a thing like that, but if you do take aspirin, that kind of stuff would can have an effect on the ear pressure in your ear. How to correct that. Caffeine. She said that does happen, and I drink coffee. I don't drink a lot of it, and I don't know if the amount of caffeine that's in the coffee that I drink, I don't know if that's going to affect anything. I mean, this is the kind of coffee that I would have. It's a large cup, about 24 ounces. But the thing is that I don't drink this whole cup of coffee. I never did drink a lot of coffee. So with this 24-ounce cup of coffee, I still got coffee in here, and so I probably, like this, I got this coffee yesterday, and so I drank all that I was going to drink, and so this is 24 ounces, and it's about half. So So probably about 12 ounces of coffee there. So it's not much, and I don't drink that much. It's very rare that I'll finish a whole cup of coffee, or actually go for another large cup of coffee. It's rare that I do that. So I don't have that much coffee, and I don't recall anything else that I have that has a lot of caffeine in it. I don't drink a lot of soda. I rarely ever drink sodas nowadays. If I do drink a soda, you know, I'll have a soda every once in a while, but mostly what I drink is water, and or like if I wanted something flavored, I'll put some flavoring in the water, or I'll have iced tea, unsweetened iced tea. But those are the only things that I typically drink for in the way of anything that could have any caffeine in it. I don't even drink a lot of tea, and I don't have a lot of flavors in my water, so you just boil it down to just basically water and a little bit of coffee. So now she also said that if you're gaining or losing weight, that could also affect the mechanisms in your ears. She had, you know, obviously she works in the field where there's a lot of medical terms, but basically there's some, you know, you got tubes that connect from your ears on down into your throat areas, like some glands and stuff down there. And so with gaining and losing weight, that can sometimes affect the way that that system works. And especially if you gain weight, you know, you could have fat or whatever that's pushing up against these glands or whatever, which will cause the imbalance and things like that. So she said gaining and losing weight. But then the other thing that she mentioned was that, you know, things like stress. Stress can often cause these problems in the ear, and also I guess malnutrition or certain things that you eat can cause that type of problem. And the sun is changing here, so I noticed that my face is glowing again. So those are some of the things that could be causing the problem with the pressure, having problems trying to adjust the pressure in the ears. So she says, you know, just be aware of that, and if you wanted to, you know, see about getting things, try to adjust things with that, talk to my primary doctor. But as far as the comprehensive portion of it, she thinks that I should go and see a specialist on that to get checked out on that. So I'll go ahead and make that appointment, and then you know, we'll see about that. We'll see what comes about that, and I'll fill you in on that. But yeah, so that's really what I did this morning. So in case you had never done an audiology test, that's pretty much what I experienced in my audiology test. It was just you know, a couple of little tests, and then a brief explanation about what could be happening with me that I'm noticing, and you know, if I'm concerned about something, then you know, I can go and get you know, get checked out. So that was it, and unfortunately, it was another long video. So I'm sorry if I was talking so much. I don't know. It seems like I find a lot of other words to say just to get around what I really need to say, I guess. I notice I do that sometimes. But nonetheless, I hope that you saw the whole video, and I thank you for watching the video. And I'll come back with another video, hopefully well, I hope that this was informational, and you know, if it was entertaining, you enjoy hearing me. I hope that it was a good video for you. And I guess I'll do a video on you know, like ADD and APD and stuff like that, on stuff that I found about that, and you know, get a more clear idea of what this is. So I'll talk to you on the next video.